welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, today we're taking a look at the state of the opposition post the assembly election results. It's not just that the Congress has lost three important states in the north, it's also their attitude while contesting the elections. That's precisely what has got the opposition partners pretty hassled. We have Akhilesh Yadav questioning the Congress commitment to the alliance. We have Omar Abdullah also, who's normally very supportive of the Congress, saying that he's going to be fighting JNK alone. Akhilesh has also said that you wouldn't give me seats in Madhya Pradesh. Don't expect me to reciprocate in Uttar Pradesh. Mamata Banerjee, of course, has seen the chance, and so have Nitish Kumar's loyalists. They are trying to portray themselves as the leaders of the India alliance. So, what is happening within the opposition, and can it regroup in time for 2024? We saw a welcome move happen during the dinner at Kharge's place, but is it just tokenism? Is there more to it than just having dinner and releasing press statements? That is something we're going to be discussing with a panel of political observers. Joining me on the show is Pawan Verma. He's a political columnist, analyst, and a former Rajya Sabha MP. Tehseen Poonawala, Congress supporter and a political analyst. Rashid Kidwai, he's an author and a political analyst and a senior journalist. And Dilip Cherian, brand image guru, and also a political analyst. I'll begin, Rashid, with you. How do you see the things shaping up? Do you have any hope that the Congress can pull it together with the India alliance? Can Congress take the lead? Because Rashid, just before the results, I was at Kharge's. There was a birthday bash for him, and all the allies on stage, whoever was there, was saying, "Kharge ji, aapko lead lena hai." Mood was upbeat. They were saying we'll win 3 out of 4 states. Can Kharge or Congress take the lead?
Yeah, so I think Priya, materially it may not have made a huge difference because in 3 states, in terms of Lok Sabha elections, the Congress, had lost 61 seats out of 65. So in that sense, it's the previous time also it's not going to make much difference. But purely in terms of optics, remember why is this India alliance come up? It didn't come up in 2014. It didn't come up in 2019. It's come because of sort of guided by a doctrine of necessity, because all the 28 constituents feel that's the only way. If they don't come together, they will all go down fighting. In that process, it's a association of co-equals. It's not like a dominance of a political party in alliance politics in India, the way we see it in UDF, LDF. And in that context, it is the Congress which is a weak link, a kamzor kadi. And because it's not been able to take on the BJP directly, remember there are over 200 seats where the Congress and BJP are in direct contest. The Congress and BJP strike rate is 90%, over 90%. So all these things are there. So suddenly, what has happened after these assembly elections? That hope, that kind of bravado that the opposition was building. There is a kind of suddenly it's been a dampener. It's raised a lot of questions, and therefore you will see that there are a lot of posturing, there are a lot of catfight, there are a lot of posturing, and that's where I think a role definition is required. You talked about Mr. Kharge. So what is his role? And role of Rahul Gandhi, actually, that's also going to be very important. Role of India Alliance convener, and a controversial thing. Do you need a face? Because you can't go on attacking Mr. Modi without talking about an alternative. So all these things are just mind-boggling. I think the best person among us is Mr. Pawan Verma to respond to these things. I can only raise questions. Mr. Verma can perhaps provide some answers.
Yes, Mr. Verma is here to provide some answers. Actually, Mr. Verma, I have to say, I was hearing you talk on another channel, and I wanted to hear those points and debate those, which is why we actually have this conversation. So, where do you see the opposition going? If you can share with us.
There is a point beyond which you cannot keep pirouetting on the precipice, which is exactly what the opposition has been doing for the last 5 years. The attempt to unite to form a pan-Indian alliance began too late. They met in Patna in June this year. What were they doing since 2019? Having met, they must be given an award for doing nothing. In normal circumstances, if they are serious, after the meeting, within a week, a secretariat would have been set up, a common minimum program should have been drafted, and a working group on feasible seat adjustments should have begun. Instead of that, they meet 4 weeks later in Bengaluru and again do precisely nothing. Then they meet 5 weeks later in Mumbai and again do nothing. And then finally the meeting in Bhopal is cancelled. In the interim, the dismal performance of the Congress in those seats in the north where it is directly in conflict with the BJP has shown that the fulcrum of the alliance has collapsed. In other words, an alliance where 200 seats, which was the Congress's kitty, is unable to produce seats, is unlikely to take off, quite apart from the fact that there is very little time left. So I must confess, and I will say this as part of an opening statement, I put the disproportionate burden of blame on the Congress party. It has refused to reinvent itself. It lacks a face. It lacks leadership. It has not been able to forge a narrative. It has not got a robust organization. And it is surrounded by, the leadership is surrounded by a ruthless coterie. That is the truth of things. And every time the Congress performs below par, instead of seriously introspecting and going in for the required qualitative structural change, what they do is to try and find an alibi to either preserve the status quo or protect the ordained leader, which in this case is the Gandhi family and specifically Rahul Gandhi. There is a principle in management that unless you have a burning desire to lose money, you don't keep selling a bad product. The Congress party does not realize that Mr. Rahul Gandhi, while well-intentioned, does not have the capabilities of leading what was the mother of all parties, the Congress. And let me finish by adding, incidentally, the idea of the Congress remains exceptionally relevant today. Democracy, pluralism, these are crying needs of the country, but the vehicle to carry those ideas and the leadership has, I'm afraid, long lost its mojo. And the decline has been there for 3 decades. The Congress has won its last parliamentary majority in 1984. Since then, it has never won a majority. It has been in coalition governments. And after 2014, the fall has been precipitated with no remedial action taken. So therefore, my short point is that in a democracy, it's very important to have an opposition. Checks and balances.
But
the Congress has failed to provide that check, and now we can only hope that the BJP retains its balance.
on that note, Dilip, you are good at reinventing brands and reinventing. We all agree with what Pawan said. Congress, kab se bol rahe, it has to reinvent itself. So it did get a new leader in place, Kharge. Is Kharge not enough to deliver?
I don't think it's about just replacing one face with the other. The Congress's big problem at the moment and the India Alliance's big problem at the moment are two different problems. I totally endorse what Pawan says, that the Congress needs to reinvent itself. But what does the India Alliance need to do? The India Alliance needs to recognize that if they are going to be of any consequence in 2024, they are battling with a very, very savvy opposition in the form of Mr. Modi, and they're also battling with a set of party aparthiks who can run circles around them and around the media, which is completely in their hands. So you have
Except
whole
for your
range-
program.
Thank you.
Yeah, except for your program. So, with that noble exception, but
Steve, you have a inside view also what is happening within the Congress. So how are they taking this the latest debacle, and is there any? Can we expect any kind of rethinking or any kind of change within the party?
So let me answer your question by saying how are they taking it versus how should they be taking it. So let me first answer it how they should be taking it. They should be banging their heads against a wall to give up an election that they had on the platter.
You have a
have
nice
to
wall
be-
behind you, Tehseen.
Yeah, I have a nice wall which was reflecting, and your producer said. And I wish the Congress indulges in some reflection within themselves. This was an election on the platter. Priya, how ungrounded and cut off from reality would the political party be to lose an election where most people were upset in Madhya Pradesh with the incumbent government and by and large liked Chhattisgarh government? But this is what the Congress is living in. It's living in a delusional world surrounded by a cacophony of supporters who have zero mass base. One of them, Rashid always defends. I call him famously Batura. Wherever he goes, whichever state, he destroys the party. He went to Chhattisgarh and destroyed, and famously tweeted 11% vote gap. 11% was against the Congress. He couldn't win his own Rajya Sabha seat. The other does everything else. They have to get up and smell the coffee and realize that they are harming the party. But that is for the Congress to answer. This debate or this discussion was about the India Alliance. In the India Alliance, I disagree humbly with Dilip. The Congress is not the grand old party. It is the grand old party, except that the old party has lost its mojo. It's a poor party. It's an old party that needs to now go into the retirement home and reassess what it needs to do, because everything since that Hyatt meeting has been a downhill disaster. At the Hyatt meeting, if I just take you all back, and I'll just take a little bit of time, the BJP, they stomp like an elephant and they'll attack you. They'll be ruthless like a tiger. Play the India Bharat card while the Hyatt meeting was happening. Suddenly,
In Bombay, in
Mumbai, the Hyatt meeting. Suddenly, rather than putting your India Alliance members or the so-called media cell or the chair, whatever, were busy talking about India and Bharat. Why are you playing on the BJP? Let them call it India, Bharat. Let the BJP think this country is Modistan. Arey, unko karne do. Tum apni baat rakho, yaar. You are playing on their pitch. Then you blame the BJP. The BJP is going to get it. Since then, you had the Sanatan comments, you had various comments, and everything was on a platter for the BJP, and the BJP set the agenda. Just ask, all of you all are very wise. Since August till now, what is the agenda that India Alliance has set? BJP set the alliance. So who's lost the plot? The India Alliance should have had a communications department. That I agree with it. A proper communications department headed somebody not from Congress, because then it looks like Congress is setting the agenda. Maybe somebody who's a stalwart, seniors from all party, they come together, they set the agenda. Today what's happening is DMK says one thing, and I said funnily the other day, it appears now in India that DMK is the Manishankar Iyer of the India Alliance. They say what they say that suits them, but it causes harm to the... it appears like that. Now, DMK says someday something, someday Akhilesh Ji says something.
And the same state as Manishankar Iyer.
Yeah, but I must say that the DMK has a mass base. It also has cadre. But that's no reflection on Manishankar Iyer. Anyways, one day Akhilesh Yadav Ji says something, one day somebody else. You must have a central communication department. Is that your...
So get your narrative right and and stop, playing into the BJP's game is what Tehseen is saying. And I'm sure Shashi Tharoor will be very happy. You just called him young leader here. But I'm going to take a quick break and come back.
Perennially young.
Perennially young leader. Okay. On that note, a quick break, but we're going to come back and keep this going. Hello and welcome back to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Today we're here discussing the fate of the opposition. But Rashid, I come back to my original question: is the fate of the opposition rests a lot on the Congress? It's the fulcrum, as we've said also. So, and the face of the Congress, can Kharge become, should the Gandhis totally step back? Early on we were praising them, that local leaders are being put forward. Today we are having a problem that local leaders are given too much of a free hand. So how do they strike the balance?
Yes, so Priya, I think that's a root cause of problem, what you're indicating. Actually, the Congress has not been able to get its act together. The Congress think that it solved its problem when Mr. Kharge became Congress president. Kharge continues to look, towards, the Congress party for its, for some kind of guidance. The Congress posed a lot of faith in regional satraps like, Ashok Gehlot, Bhupesh Baghel, and Kamal Nath. They all, failed. We can go on saying any kind of arguments. And worst problem, you see the leadership, whether it is at Kargil level or Rahul Gandhi, they are running out of ideas. You see, I'm just, talking to a friend. See, Rahul Gandhi wants to hear what, Emperor Akbar was brought in, Deen Ilahi. Deen Ilahi looked very kind of, attractive thing. It had best of everything. But that was a faith that not even, Jodhabai and Mullah Do Piazza, practiced. So Rahul Gandhi is always looking for something, drastic, something bold, something that he can sometimes become Chokidar Chor hai, sometimes with the caste senses, good ideas, but it requires, research, it requires talking point, it requires a courage of conviction, which is lacking. So I don't agree with my fellow panelists that all is lost. All is not lost, but the Congress has to get a role definition from Mr. Kharge and Rahul Gandhi for himself and, the India alliance partners. Because remember, the political issues in Bihar, in Maharashtra, in Bengal, in Karnataka are very alive. The BJP still has a real chance of losing 50, 60, 70 Lok Sabha seats. That's not solved anything. On the contrary, the Congress has got 10 plus Lok Sabha seats a promise of 10 plus Lok Sabha seats from Telangana. So whatever this, I said these states were in any case were a gone case for the Congress, because if you look at the track record, Congress has not been winning Lok Sabha seat from this region. So therefore, but you need to have this kind of sense of optimism and sense of purpose and leadership and talking point.
Leadership and narrative, Pawan, we come back to the, question. I remember originally when we started talking, you had raised these two flags also. But now what?
No. Now what? There is a line by Ghalib. हर बुलंदी के नसीबों में है पस्ती एक दिन. Every pinnacle has within its own genes, ultimately, its own defeat. So I am not saying that what exists today will remain forever. However, I'm realistic enough to say that I do not agree with my good friend Rashid, with whom I normally agree, that for 2024, all is not lost. You have to be not an optimist, but a bhakt of your own beliefs to believe that something can be said in 2024, because the opposition began too late. And let me say, as far as the Congress is concerned, you cannot build a superstructure of success on a non-existent foundation. The party has withered away on the ground. There is completely disintegrated organization and dispirited cadre. And you are fighting an electoral machine which has a face, a narrative, an organization, and a quad cadre, and a 24/7 electoral machine. So, what is going to happen is that with the failure of the Congress in these elections, in what was its bastion to deliver, each of the Indian allies partners will withdraw into their own fiefdoms. And let me further say that none of them are as secure as they think. In my view, in spite of Akhilesh ji, BJP is sweeping UP. In my view, in spite of Mamata Banerjee's dynamism, this time the BJP could increase its vote tally. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm saying even in Telangana, the BJP has won 8 seats. In Karnataka, the same voter who voted in the Congress will in a parliamentary election vote for the BJP because of the lack of an alternative. Today, assembly elections and parliamentary elections are different. In 2018, Congress won Rajasthan. In the parliamentary elections in 2019, BJP got all the seats of Rajasthan because the voter knows the difference between the two. So if you have performed badly, if you have refused to change, if you do not reinvent yourself, if you have not given a last minute attempt to create an opposition some urgency and concretized action, you can go on blaming. And the worst part is the finding of alibis. I was last night somewhere at a person whom I'm very fond of, Mr. Kamal Nath, who put up a spirited fight in Madhya Pradesh. But again, because of organization and cadre and because the BJP, narrowed the gap between his lead 6 months ago. Now, he is blaming the EVM machines. But how long will you clutch at straws? If you believe the EVM machines are faulty, and I have said this before, the first demand after the meeting in Patna should have been no EVMs for elections, paper slips. Was this demand made?
Yeah.
When you win, EVMs are working. When you lose, they are not. So let us not try to hide behind excuses. And I am seriously worried that while I congratulate the BJP, I am worried that in the world's largest democracy, the absence of an opposition, a credible opposition, is as much a crisis as the Congress is facing internally. If a party has an absolute majority in the Lok Sabha and subsequent to these elections a majority in the Rajya Sabha, and the opposition has huge egos and is totally fragmented, what does it bode for a democracy?
Right.
That is the question we should think about.
This point about EVMs, can they at least unite on that? What if all the opposition parties get together and say we won't contest the election if you have EVMs? If they genuinely believe EVM is an issue or some issue like that, can they all come together on issues like this, Dilip?
Priya, the problem with that approach is that, like everything else, it should have started much earlier.
Earlier, what he said.
Second, they need to have a credible face outside of the obvious leaders to lead that campaign.
What about Pawan's old friend Nitish Kumar?
In companies, we have
not political.
The companies that I advise have what is called the loss leaders. It has a purpose. The loss leader is someone who, a bit like a kamikaze fighter, goes out and knows that he or she will be annihilated in the battle, but will have struck the target. Now, you need to run that campaign. It is far too late, but you still have 4 solid months, and every leader needs to echo that, not have nuanced opinions on it, technical answers to it, etc. They need to recognize that needs to be one of the central themes, and somebody else is. Then you can create a branded campaign around it.
Okay.
The problem is that too much of what is happening just now is on public display from moment one. Forget day one. The need to kind of vomit all of it in public is actually a huge advantage to the BJP, which knows how to smash that out of shape and make sure that whatever is vomited is rubbed on the opposition's face. So the problem is
you're going to make us all vomit by the end of it, Dilip.
Yeah. The problem is that, you have a inability to do any strategizing in closed doors. You have a desperate necessity to come out and expose all of it. And 3, there is no real strategist. And that is what is missing. The ability to keep silent while creating your strategy and implementing it, as is said in the art of war, is fundamental to a possible victory. You may not win, but if you make an impact, then that is the way you should do this. Because this is not a conventional war. This requires a different kind of warrior strategy, and I don't see that in any of the leaders of the INDIA alliance.
So if you don't have a leader, get a strategy in place. At least Tehsim, that's what Dilip is advising in terms of building a brand, or at least fighting a credible war. Tehsim.
Let me just say about this EVM issue, because I'm the only petitioner in this issue. And when the Election Commission had called a meeting on EVM, they were all ex-MPs, MLAs, or present MPs present there, or MLAs. I was the only non-MP MLA ever to be present. The EC had invited me. Now, on this EVM issue, there is no appetite for our nation today to go beyond EVM to ballot. That appetite does not exist. What the India Alliance should say now is this. Look, we want 100% counting of VVPAT, A, not 5% randomly. B, the VVPAT paper should be barcoded with the EVM that it comes from, and we don't want it on a paper where the ink disappears in formats. Just make these three demands, which are reasonable, which is very difficult for the Election Commission to say no to, and very difficult for the BJP to oppose, because who can oppose more transparency? You can't oppose more transparency, right? Just stick to that. Right now, the nation is not in a demand for ballot. Let's be real on it. And I'm the one who's fighting this, so that ballots should come back. So that's not the mood right now. So that's one. As so far as leadership is concerned, whether of the India Alliance or whether in general of how it works, the key to that is communication. I don't understand, because right now the India Alliance communication is very mixed up with the Congress communication. The problem with that is that you're failing. For example, because of personal grudges, Congress decided to boycott certain anchors. I'm just giving a very micro example. India Alliance was forced to follow suit. And what happened is India Alliance has gone back to those anchors. Now, my question is, are we fighting anchors or are we fighting the BJP politically? We are taking our battles too personally. Second thing, we need to stop believing in our own lies. If you get a bunch of YouTubers who go and say, Saab, Pawan Saab, aisa darwaza aaj tak kisi ne nahi khola hai. Dilip Saab, aisa kisi ne safed kurta aaj tak nahi pehna. You will start believing your own lies. The YouTube world is a great world to live in. But you can't start living in that make-believe world. For everything that the BJP does wrong, it is grounded to the fact that when they get feedback that they're losing votes in Western UP, they call back the farmers thing. When the land acquisition became an issue, the Prime Minister turned it around. They take corrective action. There is nothing wrong in politics in taking corrective action. The problem with the opposition is it starts believing its own narrative that it itself creates. Now, I'm not saying it's not bad. It's bad to create your own narrative. It's great to create a narrative, but don't start believing in it. Therein is the problem that you need to sort out. And finally, you need to have grounded mass leader, one mass leader who will now take what your message is to the people. What are people voting for? So don't have a common minimum program, have a vision document. Tell the people this is our vision from 2024 to 2029. That should be your idea.
Okay. Pawan, you wanted to come in on the communication and you smiled at the mass leader. So,
But Pawan is a communications expert.
No,
He is.
I'm hardly that. But listen, communication strategies emerge when there is substance behind it.
what
A good
Dilip said.
spokesperson without a carefully built narrative that resonates with the actual voters means nothing. One Bharat Jodo Yatra and aggressive spokespersons on TV and a overactive media cell is not a substitute for a winning combination against the BJP's proven skills in all these domains. You have to accept the reality. In fact, sometimes I feel none of these parties can defeat the BJP. Ultimately, it will be somebody from outside who is grounded, who has organizational skills, who has the ability to draft a narrative and on whose for age is on his side.
Who is this person?
Or her side. Or her side. Or her side. May I just make one line? May I just make one
I know
line?
who you are plumbing for.
Yeah, I just want.
Tracy, huh?
Yeah, one. No. I completely concede to what Pawanji
Not
said.
Priyanka. But
No, whoever it is, he, she, they, them. I completely concede to what Pawanji said about the abusive spokespersons and trolls part. Look, the Congress is Nehru's party. It's Gandhi's party. You can't be abusive and troll. अरे प्रधानमंत्री अगर चले गए ड्रेसिंग रूम में तो जान दो, वो आपके देश का मुद्दा नहीं है. आप अगर शेर के दांत थोड़े बड़े हैं पार्लियामेंट के ऊपर, आप उसको मुद्दा बना रहे हो. अरे उसका दांत कैसा है? Prime Minister's gone in the dressing room. Don't. Give the people expect more from the Congress. Don't lose the legacy. And I've said this on your show, Priya. Don't lose the legacy we have. Since we last spoke in your studio, and I said the people don't expect trolls from Congress, the Congress has become a bigger troll party. It does not behove the Congress. Let the BJP do it. You don't have to fight muck with muck. Fight muck with class. As Michelle said, when they go low, you go high. Don't go low because it doesn't behove you.
Okay, Michelle is also coming. Last word to you, Rashid.
No, I'm saying, yeah, absolutely, it's absolutely fine. But there's a huge leadership crisis. My friend Sandeep Ghosh was saying that earlier, Pranab Mukherjee was in the front of the Congress and Ahmed Patel was at the background. So today we have Jairam Ramesh in the front and Yogendra Yadav at the, at behind. So that's the thing. You get what you deserve.
The mass leader, Yogendra Ji. The mass leader. Yogendra Ji is a mass leader. Yogendra Ji is multifaceted. Someday he's a farm leader, someday he's a cephalologist, someday he's spokesperson for Bharat Jodo, someday he'll say Madhya Pradesh is a sweep for Congress. Then
But
he'll say,
your leader Rahul Gandhi has taken a shine.
Yeah, the only thing consistent is
तो
Yogendra Yadav.
स्वराज को कितने सीट मिले? स्वराज पार्टी को
Your
कितने
leader
सीट
Rahul Gandhi has made him, coordinator of the Bharat Jodo Yatra.
कितने सीट मिले स्वराज पार्टी को? कितने सीट मिले स्वराज पार्टी को?
वो आप अपने आप से पूछो, but I think we're totally out of time on this discussion. It all comes back to the Congress really getting its act together. It is the party or the leader that Pawan is speaking of, which he will reveal, I think, on my next show perhaps, as to who is this waiting in the wings to take on the BJP. But on that note, thank you so much. He's saying no. Okay, we'll give wait and watch, Pawan.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.